What's up, photographer world? Josh Regasso here from theshutterschool.com, and today we have a location hacking tutorial for you. This is hopefully the first of many of a long series. The goal of this series is to show you how to make great portraits in any location. Especially as somebody like a portrait or wedding photographer, you're gonna find yourself in random, sometimes ugly, sometimes not very easy to shoot locations, and you need to figure out how to make some. Also, it's a great challenge for you to work on your creativity, is to go somewhere that doesn't seem exciting and try to make something out of it. Now, we can all imagine being on top of a mountain with beautiful blue clouds and be like, no matter what angle you look, you're gonna make amazing pictures. But what if you're in a back alley with nothing but dumpsters? Could you make an awesome picture? And so that's gonna be the goal of the series. It's gonna be awesome for you to kind of play along at home, and when I do different location videos, for you to go out and try some similar types of things and see what you can make. And hopefully we'll kind of come up with a nice set of rules and tips and tricks that we can use at any location, whether it's lighting, composition, different lens choices, different angles, different like tools and prisms, or whatever we can do to kind of disguise ugly things and enhance pretty things and make awesome stuff. So the first set of locations I'm going to use is just locations around my house. So my house isn't some big grand mansion with nothing but beautiful backdrops. It's just a normal average house. So it'd be typical kind of place to be showing up to for a bride getting ready sometimes, if they're getting ready in their house. Also, if you're trying to take portraits of your wife, your kids, friends, whatever, you might be at their house, your house, and you want to see what kind of cool portraits you can make in a basic simple home like this. So there's two main things to look for when you're trying to get a decent location. Is you're gonna find something simple and clean, not a lot of clutter, and then you're gonna try to find some good light. So for the first location, I just chose my front door. Every house has got a door, and most doors will have a window and light coming in. Unless it's like the door to your garage or something, it might be dark, it might not really get good light from there. But you've got two things going for you. It's simple and clean, and good window light. So one little trick with window light, or one little mistake that you can make. One of the first times I tried to do a portrait with window light, and I ended up getting sunlight coming directly into the window, and the light was terrible. For window light to be that soft, amazing window light, it can't be direct sunlight coming through the window. So most of the day, you're gonna have the sun somewhere other than shining through your window, and you're gonna get this good light. One cool thing about the light that comes from window light is, especially on a bright day, is you're gonna have a large fall off. So one side of the face is gonna be really bright, and the other side is going to be relatively dark. This is a great classic kind of portrait look. You can get kind of like a Rembrandt light if you get your face at the right angle where you're highlighting this cheek. If you were to look directly away from the window, or directly parallel, you can get a split light. This is more of a masculine, dramatic look. If you look into the light, it's going to be more flattering for females. You're going to want to keep them looking out the window. Guys too, but guys can get away with a more dramatic, more dynamic look. Now this fall off can be stronger or softer depending on how bright the house is. So if you have other windows on the other side of the room, it's gonna soften this shadow here. If you don't like the shadow, you can maybe add a reflector, have something bright next to them to kind of bounce some of that light back in. But usually you use a window light because you want that soft fall off. All right, so what's cool about the background is it's nice and clean, it's one solid color. In this instance, it's a dark door. So then I really pop when I look out the window and you've got the light coming in my face, it's contrasting against a dark background. So doors are great. They've got texture, wood texture, things like that. So the lens choice I have here is a 35 1.8. I have it on 1.8 so that you're gonna get as much blur as possible. If you want more blur, you're probably gonna wanna back up and use a telephoto lens so that that background blur is gonna be a sharper fall off. So to get this frame filled with the 35, I have to get relatively close. And then that closeness helps you get some fall off as well. But also I'm super close to the background, so it's harder to get a super quick fall off. 35mm lenses do not have super quick fall off. Part of the reason I chose 35 for this was just for the demonstration. I wanted the camera in the shot to show how I set up the scene, and just to kind of get a look if I want a nice like wider head and shoulders to kind of see what I can get. By a 35, I'll probably try and do some comparison with an 85 and get more of that compression. So if you have a skinny space like this door, kind of the challenging part of using a skinny slice like this door here is to get only the door and not get the stuff that's in the background. So one of the easiest ways to do that is to use a telephoto lens and back up and zoom in. And when you zoom in, it gets a lot easier to cut that slice out. The wider lenses, it's harder to hide the background. So anyway, let's take a few pictures and see how it looks. So I like the way these turned out. You've got the dark background with the wood texture blurred out from the soft focus of the lens, and then you've got the soft light, bright window light coming in that adds that nice contrast against the background. Because the light was a little bit more contrasty, I used the black and white and the more contrasty editing to kind of go with that look, and I think it looks pretty good. All right, so now I've got an 85mm lens on so that we can compare. Now, usually when you want a headshot portrait, it's nice to have a telephoto lens because you're going to be shooting kind of tight anyway, and you get a much more flattering look than a 35mm. So with the 85mm lens, it's going to have a much narrower viewing angle. With the 35, you're going to have a wider viewing angle. So because of that, I had to fill the frame, I had to have the 35 really close to me. And then I, in turn, had to be really close to the background. That can be its own cool effect if you like. We're going to compare the images to see which one you like better. But just to compare, having that 35 up close, you're going to exaggerate the facial features, and you're going to have a much less fall off than you would with the 85. One of the ways to get more fall off is actually the closer you get, the more fall off you'll have. But still, being a 35mm lens, there should be a much more gradual focus fall off than there would be with the 85. Plus, when I'm really close to the background, there's not enough time or enough distance for that fall off to kind of kick in. You're going to have a much sharper background with the 35mm. So with the 85, I can actually get farther from the background and still be in the frame, hopefully. Can't really preview myself from this spot, but we'll kind of see how it turns out. Now, I am much farther from the background than I was with the 35. So with the 85, hopefully, I should be able to get a much sharper fall off. So let's take a few photos of the 85 and compare. As you can see, the 85 version looks pretty similar to the 35 version. The blur is actually pretty similar. It's not as big of a difference as I would have expected. If you look closely, you can see that the edges of the background are definitely a little bit softer in the 85. You can see a little bit more distortion in 35, but really overall they both look pretty good. All right, cool. So there it is, our very first simple location hacking episode. Finding something simple like a front door in your house, get some good window light, got a clean background, and you can make a decent headshot portrait. So it'd be great if you go out and go to find the doors in your house, see which one's got great light, which one makes a clean background, and go ahead and practice. If you have nobody to practice on, your wife, your kids, your dog, nobody to shoot with, then go ahead and practice doing self-portraits like I did. I also just made a separate video on 4 different techniques, 4 little tricks for taking self-portraits. So if you got nobody to practice on, feel free to do self-portraits, get a tripod, and set up your scene, and then jump in, and you can use that self-portrait video if you're kind of stumped on how to do self-portraits. So anyway, thanks for watching the very first episode of Location Hacking, and stay tuned for more awesome episodes, and I'd love for you to actually share your photos with me. If you would like to do that, go to theshutterschool.com and find the link to the Facebook group. And in that Facebook group, I'm hoping that people will share the photos that they're making after watching Shutter School videos, and then everybody can kind of see each other's work and learn from each other as well. Share with me, and stay tuned for more videos. Thanks, see you soon.